Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another year of March Madness bracketology.
We look forward to this every single year because it's the second annual, so we look forward to it this year since we did it last year and had a lot of success.
Yes, while we were not perfect, we did
pretty well until
Final Eight, or
like
whatever.
the Elite
Final
Eight,
Four, Elite
and
Eight.
then we got bitterly wasted.
Yeah.
I don't think we had any Did we have any Final Four? We had one Final Four.
We had one Final Four.
So at that point, it was kind of a waste.
Like,
but up through the Elite Eight, we were in like the top 1% in the nation in brackets. So
we finished pretty high too because
nobody
called all those upsets.
We did pretty well. We predicted the upsets. Now, again, please don't gamble your house on these. This is more for fun than anything. But we've proven that they've been fairly accurate.
They have worked.
We predicted 2 Super Bowls so far. And not many people would have predicted the Broncos to win, but you almost predicted the game exactly, which is crazy. And the last Super Bowl. And last year we were in the top 1% all the way through the Elite Eight. So
we do know what we're doing. We know our Pokemon.
We know our Pokemon. What we've done, we kept the same Pokemon from last year of teams that made the tournament from last year to this year, so they all kept their same. And then we went through and made all the new ones, and we assigned them Pokemon. So we will start with the first 4 games, which they now call the first 4 because it's about time. Since last year it was the first round. Stupid. Okay. Anyway, these games are starting today, but this video won't be posted. So we're posting this on Thursday, but we're going to predict it. And we might be wrong, but they're starting tonight. In fact, the next game starts in about 2 hours. So the first game of the tournament starts in about 2 hours, and that is, I believe, Vanderbilt versus Wichita State. Now, Vanderbilt is... Who do we have? Where are they? Vanderbilt, we chose... they're the Commodores. Their mascot looks like a weird George Washington-esque kind of military leader. And then the Wichita Shockers. Who went far last year. They were fun. Liked them. And they're not electric as much as their mascot. They're like a corn thing.
He's corn.
Yeah. So Luxio is who we assigned to them last year. So in a matchup between Luxio and the Commodores, the Chinchino, who would you choose, Cooksey?
Looking at how Chinchino has a higher attack stat, it would make sense that he would be able to... It's a higher attack and a higher speed. So I think Chinchino actually has this one coming out.
So you're picking Vanderbilt, a 19-13. So that would be an upset.
It would be an upset
on that one. So we're going to go with Vanderbilt, Chinchino moving on. Excellent. So we're knocking Wichita State out, and we are putting Vandy up into the bracket there. And then now our late game is Florida Gulf Coast versus, this is the dumbest, Fairleigh Dickinson. And where's my notes on them? Yeah, Florida Gulf Coast. They are the Eagles. We assigned them Braviary. And Fairleigh Dickinsons are the Knights. And they have a horse mascot. It's a blue horse. So we went with the shiny Ponyta.
Okay, this one, Braviary, definitely takes it. Higher attack stat, higher speed. And there's no defenses on a Ponyta. So.
And that would not be an upset according to their win-loss record so far. Florida Gulf Coast is 20-13. Fairleigh Dickinson is a 19-14. So they're fairly evenly matched, but we're going with the Braviary there. So,
okay.
All right, we'll bump them down into the bracket down here. Okay. So let's move on. We're going to start with the South bracket in the first round, and we'll just work our way down the bracket, and then we'll move to West, then East, then Midwest, then we'll go to the second round regional finals, or regional semifinals, regional finals, national semifinals, and then the national championship. So that's how we'll work our way down the bracket.
Not doing.
Oh, yeah, we forgot the other first 4 games. Sorry, I'm drunk. I'm not really. I'm really not.
Not drunk.
I don't drink. Okay. At all. This is not water weight. Okay. Holy Cross. We'll start with Holy Cross. Is a 14-19, and they are the Crusaders. So we chose Poniard. I think if you look at their mascot, it's not a bad choice. Plus, Crusaders makes sense,
Makes
right?
sense, yep.
And then Southern University, they are the Jaguars, and so we chose Leipard. So Poniard versus Leipard, who do you got?
So Leipard definitely doesn't have the coverage to take out the heavy defenses of the Poniard. Plus, Poniard's insane attack stat. Poniard definitely takes this one.
So we're going with the Holy Cross, Poniard, the Crusaders, Southern. Sorry, you lose. You're out. Odoyo rules. That's an upset according to the Holy Cross is the 14-19. So they actually have a losing record. So that's an upset.
That is an upset, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. All right, that goes Michigan and Tulsa as our other first 4 games. This is an 11 seed versus an 11. They're basically equal. Michigan at 22-12, Tulsa at 20-11. We have them, Michigan. They are the Wolverines, and we have assigned them. Where'd they go? The Ferret. And then the Tulsa Golden Hurricanes, which whoever called the Hurricane Golden, scums.
X gon' give it to you. He gon' give it to you. X gon' give it to you.
Shiny Pidgeot. Who you got?
This one's hard. Pidgeot probably will come out on top here, but I'm going to take a quick look at Furret. Pidgeot has a lower than average speed stat for a flying type, and his attack stat's not insane, but Furret is slower and his attack is also lower. Plus, there's no special moves or moves that give Furret an advantage here, so I'm going to say Pidgeot.
Pidgeot with the win. Tulsa. That's not really an upset. They're fairly equal, so that's it. Tulsa, moving on. Okay. All right, now let's move down the bracket, and we'll start in the South. We'll make our way down, and here we go. So, we're predicting the South bracket, round number 1, first round. Those games will take place Thursday, Friday this week. Our first matchup is the number 1 seed overall in the tournament, Kansas versus Austin Peay, or however you want to say that. Kansas is 30-4. They are the number 1 seed, the number 1 ranked team in the country. Austin Peay is a 188 ranking on the RPI, and they are 18-17. We have assigned for Kansas, they are Archeops, the Jaybirds, the Jayhawks, Archeops. I think if you look at the mascot that Kansas had, the red, the blue, the fluffiness, it looks like Archeops.
Yes.
And then Austin Peay are the Governors. Dumb. Stupid.
I'm blue, I've been
Okay, Governors. And they literally have a governor mascot. He's creepy looking.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. So we decided Mr. Mime.
Yeah. Creepy and, kind of classy.
So we're going Archeops versus Mr. Mime. Who do you got?
Archeops on this one, hands down. Archeops, insanely fast, insanely high attack, and Mime doesn't have anything to counter with.
All right, so we are picking Kansas, Archeops, advancing. All right, so our next one, Colorado versus Utah. That's Colorado Buffaloes, or not Utah, UConn, University of Connecticut. So Colorado Buffaloes an 8 seed. This is an 8-9 seed. They're fairly evenly matched. Colorado's a 22-11. They have a little bit higher RPI ranking. They're at 35. UConn at 37, so they're almost dead even. The 2 teams we've assigned, Buffalont for the Buffaloes. I think that's fair. Buffaloes, Buffalont. Who else are you going to pick? And the UConn Huskies, we've gone with the Mighty Enna on this one.
This is probably going to go to the Buffalont. Buffalont has some heavy attack, high HP. Mighty Enna is good and does have the Intimidate ability to drop that attack stat, but I don't think it's going to do enough.
All right, so we're going Colorado over UConn, Buffalont, moving on. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
UConn, not that great this year. If I'm looking on a basketball perspective, they're good, not that great. Colorado, they're playing in the tough Pac-12 conference. I think that's a good. Okay. All right, Maryland, the Terrapins versus South Dakota State and South Dakota State Jackrabbits. So based on their RPI, Maryland's a 5 seed, San Diego State is a 12 seed. And we've got 25-8 for Maryland and 26-7. So win-loss record fairly good, but Maryland plays in a tougher conference. Now, the Terrapins of Maryland, the little turtle guys, Caracosta is the only thing that I think fits mascot-wise.
Yes.
If you look at the mascot, look at Caracosta, it's the only... I mean, you could have gone like Squirtle, Blazo, but it doesn't really fit.
It's not as accurate. No.
It's not as accurate. And then San Diego State Jackrabbits, you looked at the mascot, we instantly, all of us in the room, there were like 6 of us talking about it, Diggersby,
hands
how
down.
to beat. Okay. So Caracosta versus Diggersby, who you got?
Well, Caracosta's got the water typing, has the advantage over the Diggersby. Diggersby has the ground typing, which has an advantage over the rock typing of the Caracosta. However, Caracosta is physically defensive, so I think that Caracosta will walk away from this one.
Caracosta moving on. Awesome. That sounds good. Let's move on to the next one. That takes us to California, University of California, the Bears, the Golden Bears, versus the University of Hawaii, the Warriors. They used to be the Rainbow Warriors. Now they're just the Warriors. So let's look at that matchup here. And Cal is a 4 seed, Hawaii a 13 seed. Cal is definitely favored. They're 16. Also playing in that Pac-12. Hawaii playing in the WAC, I believe, or not the WAC. No, they're in Mountain West now. Mountain West, 27-5. A much weaker conference for Hawaii. So that makes sense why while their record is really strong, they're not highest seeded. We assigned the Golden Bears are Ursaring, which makes sense.
Makes sense.
Bear, okay. And Hawaii, the Warriors, we went with Machoke.
So,
why Machoke?
Machoke, because he's a warrior. You're beefed up, bodybuilder, strong looking, kind of your...
Why not Machamp? That's my question.
Why not Machamp? Well, Machoke kind of looked the bill a little bit better than Machamp, but also just for the sake of keeping it on a similar plane.
They play in a much weaker conference.
Yeah.
And so I think that it makes sense. Who you got? Ursaring versus Machoke.
I think Machoke walks out on top of this one.
Upset alert.
So there is an upset there. But fighting type definitely has the advantage over the normal type there.
Awesome.
Almost every time. Plus, it's not fully evolved. If you want to get technical, Eviolite sets are a thing. Machoke's pretty bulky.
There we go.
There you go.
Upset alert, upset alert, upset alert. Hawaii over Cal. It could happen. This year, the one thing about this year's bracket, every team's beatable. Like every team, even Kansas, you don't have that one unstoppable team. Kansas has had 4 losses. I mean, not a lot, but they're beatable. 4 teams have done it. Every team this year is beatable, so I predict a lot of upsets. I think that's a solid one. All right, moving down. All right, so we went with Vanderbilt over here. So that puts us Vanderbilt, who was...
Is the Cincenos.
Yeah, the Cincenos. Versus Arizona, who we have as the Delphox. So, Delphox versus the Cincino. I'll give you the breakdown here. I don't have Vanderbilt stats, but I will give you Arizona playing in that tough Pac-12. They were the number 1 school, or not the number 1. No, they weren't. They were way low. They were a tough school to beat, but Utah was better than them, and so was Oregon. RPI 26, 25-8, so they're a 6 seed. Vanderbilt is an 11 seed.
Okay. Looking at Cincino again, has the high attack stat and the high attack and high speed. Delphox is actually slightly slower and doesn't have the best of physical defenses. So while not able to deal an attack out fast enough, I think Cincino has the win here. Plus, Cincino is known to tech a Rock Blast. So, super effective move.
Sweet. Another upset. Cincino. That's not a bad upset to pick, I don't think. Arizona is beatable. They've had a rough year. They used to be one of the tougher teams.
They were a number 1
seed.
They were
a 1 seed last year. They're not as good this year. And so I think that's a tough. I think that's a solid upset. I don't see that one being like crazy weird is what I'm trying to say. All right, moving on. The 3 seed, 4 seed matchup there. Miami versus Buffalo. Miami, that's the Hurricanes. So we went Pelipper.
Yeah.
Pelipper. And then Buffalo, the Buffaloes.
Was it? Or was it Toros?
But we chose, their mascot is the Buffaloes. But we did not go with Buffalo on this one because of the look of the mascot, which actually looked more like a Toros.
Yes,
so we went with the Toros on that one. And that was purely based on looks.
And that was one from last year.
That Buffalo was in last year, and we made that decision last year. So you have Pelipper versus Toros. Who you got?
Looking at it, Pelipper is a little bit more on the bulky side. Probably can take a few hits from the Toros, plus has the access to recovery with Roost. But Toros also has access to recovery, so it'd be a very stally fight. But I think Pelipper has it on the speed, so I'm going to give it to Pelipper there.
Pelipper. Moving on. All right, so that takes us to Iowa versus Temple. Iowa being the Hawkeyes, and Temple being the Owls. So Iowa Hawkeyes, they are an RPR 28. They're a 21-10 school. Temple is a 21-11. Fairly even matchup, but Iowa plays in a tougher conference. Temple has RPI ranked 63. The game favors and the predictions favor Iowa, but it could be a fairly even matchup. So that puts us Iowa, the Hawkeyes. We have Haunch Crow, which if you look at the mascot, fits perfectly in my opinion. And then the Owls, Knocked Owl. Who else are you going to pick?
Yeah.
So, Haunch Crow, Knocked Owl, who do you got?
I've given it to Haunch Crow almost instantly on this one. Better Pokemon all around. Higher attack stat, higher speed.
Awesome. Simple. And then that takes us to the last matchup in the South bracket. Villanova Wildcats versus the UNC, University of North Carolina, Asheville Bulldogs. So we've gone with the obvious choice here, Wildcats. Villanova's Wildcat looks a little different. There's so many Wildcats. So we tried to balance them out. And Villanova's one last year we picked based on the looks. We went with Meowstic. And then UNC Asheville Bulldogs, you got to go with Granbull. And that's a tough one because there's so many Bulldogs. But Granbull is the one that fits the most. So we have a few Granbulls. It looks the part. You have to go with it.
Yeah.
Meowstic versus Granbull. Who are you going with?
So in this here, I think Meowstic definitely takes it. He's got the physical defense or the special attack to counter the Intimidate from the Granbull. Granbull doesn't have the best defenses really at all. Not super fast. Meowstic gets Prankster, kind of teching Thunder Waves and just being a little tricky. So I think that Meowstic's going to be the better choice here.
Awesome. Okay, so that takes us through the first round in the South. And I'm just recording what we wrote. And we also are putting it on, our bracket will be on ESPN Bracket Tournament Challenge. So if you want to see how we're doing, you can check us out on Tournament Challenge. It'll be under VGCritic Pokemon. Is the bracket name. All right, so we went Iowa and we went Villanova. Okay, so let's move into the West. Here we go.
Okay.
That takes us to this page here, the West. We'll start at the top. We have predicted Holy Cross to move on, so we have the Crusaders, the Poniards of Holy Cross against the number one seed in the West out of the Pac-12, Oregon, the Oregon Ducks, and for them we have chosen Farfetch'd, and that goes from last year as well. But it fits.
It does fit.
It fits. So Farfetch'd versus Poniard.
That's hard. And what's really hard about it is I think Poniard wins, and I think it's hard to call that kind of an upset. But
upset alert! That's a big upset.
Poniard is a steel type. There's nothing really coming out from the Farfetch'd here.
Now Oregon's beatable, unless you're the University of Utah in the Pac-12 championship, and then you get your butt spanked by Oregon. But Oregon has lost 6 times. But they are predicted to be the number 2 team in the country. But they did lose 6 times. They are vulnerable. Utah beat them earlier this year as well, and then they got their butt spanked. So they're wishy-washy.
Yeah.
So it's not out of the realm of possibilities. And if I was to predict any year that a 16 seed upsets a 1 seed, this year seems to set itself up for it. Every team has been beaten multiple times when they've been ranked a number 1 team. So, but man, that's a tough one, but I will write it down.
Yeah. It's hard because Farfetch'd only gets one fighting type move
Oh my gosh.
that it doesn't normally have. And it doesn't get any ground. Mud Slap. It gets Mud Slap. Like, these aren't...
They're not strong moves.
strong moves that would counter it. And so, just based on typing and coverage...
Okay, we're moving on. And that's the fun of this. That's the fun of Pokemon predictions. Is it's not the logical choice always, but based on Pokemon. If we're basing purely on Pokemon matchups, we got to go with the upset there.
Yeah, we do.
It may not happen in real life. Probably won't. But if we do predict it right, we'll be one of the only few people in the countries to predict that.
Yes,
and we'll know. We'll know tomorrow because Holy Cross has to beat Southern. If Holy Cross doesn't beat Southern.
What was Southern's mascot again?
Southern's mascot was the Lipard. So if you were going Farfetch'd versus the Lipard, who'd you go with?
That one's really matched. There's not necessarily coverage there, but probably the Lipard as well. So
either way, we're predicting Oregon to lose in the first round. Sorry, Duck fans. Sucks to be you.
Especially when you lose.
Especially when your mascot is Donald Duck.
Yeah.
Like, try a little harder. Did you just call Disney up and say, hey, do you got any extras? Scums. Okay. There goes my shot at getting into Oregon.
Working for Disney.
Or working for Disney. No, because I still like Disney. And I appreciate their Donald Duck. I just don't appreciate that the University of Oregon stole
the Donald Duck.
Stole it. All right, St. Joseph's. St. Joe's versus Cincinnati. St. Joseph's are the Hawks. Bright red hawk. There was no choice other than Fletchinder. Now, why do we not use Talonflame? Let's talk about this, because we have not put Talonflame, and there's lots of bird Pokemon, but we always avoid Talonflame. Tell them why.
Talonflame is the most broken Pokemon in all of Gen 6.
OP.
And 5 and 4, and just any game.
OP.
Just broken.
Just put Talonflame on your team and you're going to win.
So that's why we avoid him.
So we always lower down, because Fletchinder is a decent Pokemon.
It's a good Pokemon, yeah.
So versus Cincinnati. Cincinnati are the Bearcats, so we went with Zoroark, because if you look at the mascot, it actually works. And we have so many cats that we had to branch out a little bit. And we also made that decision last year. So that was a carryover. So Fletchinder, Zoroark, who do you got?
I think Fletchinder might actually have the attack stat to pull out. While Zoroark's probably a better Pokemon, I think the speed and attack, they're both going to probably run a focus sash set, so whoever gets to attack twice first is the one that's going to win. So I'd give it to Fletchinder there.
Sweet, Fletchinder, and that matches up. St. Joseph's, they're ranked higher. They're a 23 RPR. Cincinnati's only a 44. St. Joseph's win record's better. Now they don't play in as good a conference, but they all around seem to be a better team. So that makes sense. That's not an upset there. That brings us to Baylor versus Yale. Baylor, the Bears. Baylor Bears. And Yale, they are the Bulldogs, because everyone's a freaking Bulldog.
Yale are the prissy pups.
So unlike our other Bulldogs, we just felt like we couldn't with Yale. They are new this year. They're uptight. I'm not getting into Yale anytime soon, so I can make fun of Yale.
They're prissy pups.
And so we went a little different way. Who did we pick?
We picked Furfrou.
Makes sense.
It's
a prissy
the
pup.
French poodle art design dog, and you decorate it up, and it gets all dolled up and fancy, and then goes out in battle.
Don't be all high and mighty, Yale. Okay.
I mean, Furfrou's not a bad Pokemon, but they're not Bulldogs.
So, let's be honest. So we went for Furfrou, and that's why we went there. Baylor, we went with the Bears. Of course, you got to go with who if you're going with the Bears?
You're going with Ursaring.
Ursaring. So who do we got? Ursaring versus Furfrou.
That, again, is hard because Furfrou has the ability that it does, the fur coat, which has physical damage, which means that it's got a really good defense. But at the same time, like, the insane offense on Ursaring, plus he gets Brick Break, and I think he gets Reversal and Revenge as well. It's like all those fighting moves are normal on an Ursaring. You will see them. And I think that the Ursaring's going to win.
Ursaring beats out Yale. Yale actually has a decent record, but they play in the Ivy League. So it's glorified rec ball. So insulting the Ivy League. Well, accept me next time, scum. I'm just kidding. I didn't even apply. I know where I stand. Okay, Ursaring over Furfrou. I feel like that's a wise choice. And I don't see Yale winning that game either. Now here's a good one. From last year we went with Duke. Duke, always a good school, classic basketball school, Duke. And then UNC, University of North Carolina, Wilmington. Duke, last year they're the Blue Devils, so we went with the shiny Houndoom, which is blue.
It's a blue devil dog.
So that made sense. We went with that last year. And then the UNC, Wilmington, University of North Carolina, Wilmington are the Seahawks. It's a green bird. So we went with Pelipper, shiny, who is a green bird.
Green bird there.
Pelipper,
yeah.
I wanted to be Pelipper for some reason. Okay, Pelipper, shiny, which is green. So
yeah.
Makes sense.
So Pelipper's got that water type kind of advantage there. But I'm going to have to look at these because I feel like it's a really even matched set here.
Which these two teams if you just look purely on win-loss record, fairly even match. I mean, UNC Wilmington has a better record, but Duke plays in a way tougher conference.
Right.
UNC Wilmington, I don't even know what conference they play for. So Duke had tougher games to get through this year. So they're 23-10. UNC Wilmington are 25-7. You can probably balance that out. They're actually fairly evenly matched, I think.
Okay. Looking at it, I'm probably going to give it to the Houndoom. While Houndoom is the fire type into the water type, he's also got the dark type coverage, the better speed. He's a special attacker, while Pelipper is physically bulky. So I think Duke takes it, not because of type matchup purely, but because of the base stats.
The base stats, and Houndoom can survive the water attack.
I don't think he even needs to survive one, though Pelipper does have weaker offensive stats, but Houndoom's faster. So I think he can get some fatal shots off before needing to take a hit. Yep.
Well, I like the Houndoom. It's a good Pokemon. It's on my team right now, so I'll support that because Houndoom is on my team. On my playthrough of X right now. All right, so that moves us to Texas versus Northern Iowa. Texas Longhorns, and I love what we chose for Texas. Longhorns. Yeah, we had. Not a ton of options.
We could have done Tauros.
We could have, but we already did Tauros. So it made sense to do
Miltank.
And I love that choice.
And not a bad Pokemon. It kind of comes from the same... It's kind of got the same stats and everything as a Tauros. You could really go either way. They're fairly equal in representation. Miltank's bulkier, though, so...
And that brings us to Northern Iowa Panthers. They were in last year as well. And their colors are gold and purple, which set up perfect for a Liepard.
It does. Liepard being good panther Pokemon, leopard Pokemon, big cat Pokemon, wild cat.
Their records are almost identical, but Texas plays in the harder conference, giving them the higher ranking, 6, and Northern Iowa is a 11 seed. Texas is ranked higher. Based on difficulty of schedule, but UNI has played well and played well against good teams. So, what do you got? Miltank, Liepard, what do you got?
Looking at this, Liepard really can't deal damage. Really good support Pokemon, really good to set up with. But Miltank has really good sustain. Miltank can stay alive forever, which is one of the things that made Whitney's Miltank so hard in Gen 2. One of the hardest gym battles of all time. And so I think that the Miltank's going to take it here because maybe not necessarily able to deal a ton of damage, is going to be able to out-sustain and refresh itself from any status conditions that are going to be inflicted by the Liepard.
Based on the predictions, that would be a solid prediction on the voting and from the experts. So we'll go with Miltank, moving on. That brings us to Texas A&M. Not Texas, Texas A&M versus Green Bay. Texas A&M are the Aggies. Now, this is an interesting one because you Google search Texas A&M mascot, you're not going to see an Aggie or anything like that or a bull or anything. It's a Sheltie. It's a dog.
It is a dog.
It is a dog. A beautiful dog. Like a Sheltie is like Lassie.
Yeah.
For those who don't know. And then Green Bay, they are the Phoenix. And I know where Green Bay is. Okay. But I've never heard of Green Bay University. I know the football team because, go Packers. But
there you go.
They are the Phoenix. Green Phoenix, which makes no sense. Other than Green Bay, but... a Phoenix. Okay. So we chose, for Texas A&M with the Sheltie, our first thought was...
Herdier.
Makes sense.
Herdier, middle stage Pokemon. It's
Sheltie
a dog.
normally used as a herding dog, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
And then Green Bay Phoenix, green flying fire Pokemon.
It's not fire. We went with Tropius.
It was Tropius because of the green
Phoenix.
Phoenix.
We went with the green Phoenix here. And while it may not be necessarily a fire type, I think.
But I don't think Green Bay needs to be fire type.
I don't think so either.
I don't think that's what they're going for in their mascot either. It's a green bird, so Tropius makes sense.
Tropius made perfect sense.
Okay, so Herdier or Tropius, who do you got?
I think Tropius is the better pick here. Herdier does get access to Fire Fang and such, but Tropius gets the sustain, bulky. Usually that's going to probably win it in these matchups.
So that's an upset prediction, Green Bay over Texas A&M. Upset alert. Upset alert. That's a 14 over a 3 seed, so that's a good. But I like the pick. There's got to be upsets, and I think there are going to be some. And if you look their records, Texas A&M is clearly the better school, but the Green Bay scores a lot. They are a high offensive team, 84.2 points per game. They are the highest scoring team in the NCAA tournament, and that's a big stat. So while the experts would clearly disagree with us, we're going to roll the dice on this one.
Because we're the Pokemon guys.
Because we're the Pokemon guys that predict with Pokemon, and maybe we'll be right. So that brings us to the bottom of the bracket. Oregon State, the Beavers, versus VCU. 7 seed versus 10 seed. Virginia Commonwealth, they are the Rams, so we chose Go.
Go.
Because who else are you going to pick?
Yeah.
And Oregon State Beavers, and you chose
the Barrel.
Which makes sense.
It does, Beaver.
It's a beaver.
The Barrel actually has some water typing in there, which often goes unnoticed, actually, in most... I don't know. It took me forever to learn that he was water type. Doesn't look water type, and he's your normal you get at the beginning of the game. While not the best Pokemon, I think that he does have some pretty good defenses, but I don't think the defenses are going to be enough to take the Grass-type moves from the Go-Goat.
So we are predicting another upset. Upset alert, the 10 seed over the 7 seed, which for me is fine because Oregon State plays in. They got the higher seed because they play in the Pac-12, which is one of the toughest conferences in the country right now. Their record is not great. They're 19-12. VCU plays in a tough conference, not the Pac-12, but they're at 24-10. VCU, their RPI rankings are within 5 points, which is basically a wash. VCU could beat them. They have the higher points per game and the better defense. So it makes sense. I actually think that's a solid pick, and we're going VCU over Oregon State. And that one actually I think probably will happen. So I feel really confident about that one. I don't know about Green Bay, but I'm rolling with it. All right, Oklahoma, CSU, California State, Bakersfield. So Oklahoma, last year we decided with the Sooners, they really have a cowboy. There really isn't a great mascot for them, so we assigned them Cacturn last year.
Yeah, shiny Cacturn.
Shiny Cacturn matches their cowboy look to that color, so we went with that. And CSU Bakersfield, Roadrunners, not a ton of great options, but the most Roadrunner-esque Pokemon we could think of
is the Doduo.
The CSU Bakersfield Roadrunners have a blue and yellow color scheme. Doduo is not blue and yellow, but if you look at the shiny Doduo, it's green. You put blue and yellow together,
and you get your green.
You get your green Doduo. It's a stretch, and we know it. Okay, who you got? Cacturn over Doduo.
I think Cacturn's the better Pokemon. And even though the Grass type into Flying type might not necessarily make sense, Cacturn has access to, in my opinion, one of the strongest sucker punches in the game, being stabbed from that high attack. Plus, he can be ran special. I just think that Cacturn has the versatility to be able to win this.
All right, moving over to the East and the Midwest for round one. This will pick up the pace once we get down. We don't have to explain the teams and the mascots as much. So here we go. We are moving over to North Carolina. We're in the East. North Carolina, the Tar Heels. Go Tar Heels! I've always been in North Carolina. And I'm not trying to be biased, but I love North Carolina. And we assigned them last year Nidoking.
Which makes sense. Tar Heels, Poison type.
We took a long time to figure out what we exactly wanted with them. I remember we debated
it was
for
really
a long
hard
time.
to figure out how to do a Tar Heel.
Tar Heel, and they really don't have like a solid mascot. So Nidoking, I think that's a solid choice.
It
Poison type kind of looks like them. I believe if it's got the blue coloring.
Yeah, it was shiny. It's
shiny.
Blue.
It's blue matching, and I think we made him shiny last year.
And in my head, I can just see a Nidoking wearing a basketball jersey
of North Carolina.
So
it makes perfect sense. Now we chose Florida Gulf Coast, the Braviary over the Ponyta. So we are facing Florida Gulf Coast versus North Carolina. So it's Braviary versus Nidoking. Who you got?
I got Nidoking on this one. Nidoking is very commonly run with Ice Beam. He's also a good choice Scarf user. He packs a huge punch, and most of Braviary's damage is going to come with recoil. So,
sounds good. Nidoking, I think that's a solid pick. Braviary doesn't have a chance. That moves us down to the next one. USC, the Trojans, and Providence. The Friars, and we had Providence in there last year, so we looked at their mascot. Go look up.
There's some mascots.
So the Friars. So we went. He just looks like a bayonet.
It kind of does, but the like unearthly pain that's in the mascot's face.
It fits so well.
Bennett just made sense.
And we decided that last year. So Bennett versus Bisharp, USC versus Providence. Who you got?
I think Bisharp takes this one. Dark typing. Once again, that sucker punch advantage. It's a great move. It's stab on the Bisharp. Tons of damage from it. I think that's your win.
So USC gets the win over Providence. It's an 8-9 matchup. USC plays in the Pac-12. They're a stronger team. They have that Pac-12 conference this year was solid. So I think that's a good choice. Okay, now we get into the fun one. Indiana, the Hoosiers, and we had this problem last year with the Hoosiers. They don't really even have a mascot, like at all. They're a Hoosier. What in the heck is a Hoosier?
Hoosier, noun, a native or inhabitant of Indiana. Hoosier.
So I think we looked it up last
Who's
year.
your daddy?
Who's your daddy? So what we decided last year with Hoosiers, they have stuffed animals. When you Google search, what the heck?
There's nothing.
There's nothing to go off.
Hoosier, noun. Never mind. I give up.
So we made them an unknown.
Yeah, I think it was an unknown.
Yeah.
So I hate to interrupt. I really do, but I have to point this out, guys. Could you look a little less bored down there, Mr. Exclamation point and question mark? You guys look like you have been stoned or are about to be stoned to death. Liven up, guys. Come on, you're Pokemon.
Because it makes sense.
I'd be like the letter I or whatever, right?
Maybe an O.
Maybe an O. And then you have Chattanooga, and they're the Mocs. MOCS, Mocs. But it's like a hawk looking. It looks like a peregrine falcon almost.
Yeah, kind of.
Looked like a falcon bird. So we made it a
Staravia.
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 I'd actually agree with that.
Yeah,
based on the look of the mascot versus the look of a Staravia.
Yeah, I mean, and while Staraptor is the fully evolved, it didn't look like Staraptor. It looked like Staravia.
So, in an unknown versus Staravia matchup, who do you got?
I think Staravia takes it.
Ooh, upset city. Upset alert.
Oh, there's your upset.
Indiana. Chattanooga's got the better record. Indiana plays in a way tougher conference. I mean, Chattanooga.
They probably won't win, but at the same time,
they're 12-5, which actually 12s have had a good chance over 5 seeds in the past. And they're not ranked terrible. They're just not a great offensive team. But we'll upset them.
There we go.
I'd love to see that. Knock Indiana off their high horse. Okay. That takes us to Kentucky versus Stony Brook. Kentucky Wildcats had a rough year this year for Kentucky. Normally,
especially after last year's good year.
Normally, after such a solid team, had a rough year. They fell to a 4 seed in the tournament bracket, and then Stony Brook a 13 seed. I've never ever heard of Stony Brook. Plus, I feel like they spelled the Brook wrong, but that's just me. I feel like there should be on the name. There's always an E on there. Okay. Anyway, it's like Stony Brook. Okay. Kentucky Wildcats are Umbreon, and I believe that what's a shiny Umbreon? Is it?
It's got the blue rings.
It's like the blue rings.
Black.
So that's why we went with that. And we decided that last year. So it's a shiny Umbreon versus a Seawolves. It's a wolf, but it's the Seawolf, so we went with a shiny Zoroark.
Yep, another one of those blue and black kind of
combo
looks. Between these two, they're both dark type. They really don't have matchup. It's very stally, and Umbreon's the stall master. Like, no Pokemon can really outstall an Umbreon. So I think Umbreon gets it here.
Umbreon gets it. That's a solid pick. Kentucky moving on. Stony Brook, not an upset. So Kentucky and Umbreon. Okay. Notre Dame. Good old Notre Dame. They did us well last year. We did really good with Notre Dame.
They didn't win, but
we had them going all the way to the end, and they carried us pretty far.
Yeah, to finally
So
Elite Eight.
Scrafty is who we went with last year for Notre Dame. We love our Scrafty.
We do.
And that we actually pulled up the Pidgeot, so that's the shiny Pidgeot match that comes from the Tulsa, Michigan. So Tulsa.
X gon' give it to you. He gon' give it to you. X gon' give it to you.
So Notre Dame, Tulsa, shiny Pidgeot versus the Scrafty.
And this is hard. This is really hard. Because Pidgeot is a good Pokemon.
Yeah.
Like, hands down. And Scrafty's a good Pokemon, but Scrafty he's fighting type. But he has 115 in both defenses. Like, that's really high. With a 90 attack. And he does, one of the last moves he learns is Head Smash. Rock type move. It's one of the best moves in the game, except for its insane recoil. And in this actual fight, what I can see happening is him living a hit from the Pidgeot, then one hitting with a Head Smash, and then dying to the recoil damage, essentially. But because of that, he wins.
So he wins, but the best player on Notre Dame goes down with an injury.
There we go. If we could call that.
That's the prediction.
That's the prediction.
So we're going with Notre Dame.
With Notre Dame.
But it's not going to be pretty, and they're going to get injured. Okay.
If Pokemon tells everything, and we're getting an injury.
Which you almost, like, when you predicted the Super Bowl with the Seahawks, like, the Seahawks-Patriots Super Bowl, and you said...
Seahawks will win unless, there's a crit hit.
Unless there's a crit hit.
At the end, and
there was.
Yep. Like what, you throw a 2-yard pass...
Dummies.
30 seconds left in the game.
Dummies. Who do we say? Indiana? Wow, am I that far behind? No. Indiana, we had losing to Chattanooga. I got to put these in here. And then we had Kentucky, and then we have Notre Dame. Okay, so we're to West Virginia versus SF Austin, who we also had. We had both of these teams last year, if I remember right. West Virginia Buffaloes, that's the Buffaloes. And SF Austin were the Lumberjacks, which last year we assigned them Timber, because what else are you going to assign them? So... West Virginia versus SF Austin. West Virginia is a 3 seed. SF Austin a 14 seed. They have almost identical record. West Virginia lost more games, but they played more games. SF Austin 27-5. West Virginia 26-8. But their conference difference is the big deal.
Yeah. So. This is hard. It's hard because Timber is the perfect mascot, but he's not a good Pokemon.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a basic Pokemon, and, I'm sure your SF Austin fans are going to be mad at us for giving it such a weaker Pokemon.
That's true.
But no, it is a Timber.
What else are you going to pick?
It's a Lumberjack. There's just nothing else
It's kind of like how Harvard, we had to just give it a Jinx.
We just had to give it to it.
Jinx, right?
Yeah, we gave a Jinx to
That wasn't a choice.
Sometimes you just can't not.
So. And
Jinx went pretty far, but this Timber's not.
So West Virginia.
West Virginia's winning this one.
Okay. And that's the Bulldogs. Okay. So that brings us to Wisconsin, Pittsburgh. Wisconsin, the 7 seed. Pittsburgh, the 10 seed. Wisconsin's the 20-12. Pittsburgh, 21-11. So they're almost equal. They both play in fairly good conferences. So this could be a fairly good 7-10 matchup. Wisconsin, last year we assigned it a Linoon.
And it's a good Pokemon.
Linoon, or however you say
Linoon.
Fairly good Pokemon. I use it as my HM slave, but it's a solid HM slave.
It's an HM slave that can come through.
And it'll take you to the end, really. You
can train a Linoon if you use it as it's meant to be
used. And
used.
then Pittsburgh Panthers, we assigned them last year Persian, if I remember right.
Is it Persian?
It is a Persian.
Persian on here. Okay.
So
this is interesting.
Persians.
You got 2 normal types against one another. But between the 2 of them, Linoon's the better Pokemon. Persian's a good Pokemon. It's fun to use. It gets payday. It's a good Pokemon to use in a playthrough, but competitively, it really isn't viable. Linoon gets access to the double edge with a choice band. I think that's the only strategy to run, but it's a good one. So
Linoon would win in the fight, so that puts Linoon moving on. Brings us to the bottom of the East bracket in round 1. Xavier versus Weber State Wildcats. Weber State. Not many people know about Weber State, but here in the great old state of Utah, we do. So, in fact, I graduated from Weber State. So, go Wildcats. Weber State, great, great, great. I'm an alumni. I'm glad to see my Wildcats in the tournament, but I don't see a lot coming out of them.
Yeah.
Xavier, the
blue blobs.
I love the blue blob. Like, let's all mascots should be a ditto.
It should be
A shiny ditto. All mascots should be a shiny ditto. For the Weber State Wildcats, this one was a tough one because we have so many Wildcats. Again,
So many.
And it's hard. Like, we don't want to repeat as much. Weber State's it plays in the Big Sky, so it's not a great conference. It won the Big Sky tournament. Decent team. Damian Lillard came from Weber State. He's one of the best players in the NBA. They're good. 26-8 is not a bad record.
No, there's 27-5.
Yeah, 27-5. So it was tough. We went, we looked, we Google searched, we thought about it forever. We finally decided on a shiny Sylveon because it's got a purple tint, and Weber State's colors are purple.
Yeah, it does have the purple tint.
Again, I hate to do this. I do. But as you can tell, I was not here during the Pokemon picking process. That was a shiny Sylveon, as you can see. It's kind of bluish. And then here's a regular Sylveon, as you can see. I see more of a purple-pink out of that. And I'd consider that way more purple than the other one. And here is Weber State's, icon logo thing. None of which, what? How did they get a Sylveon for this at all? I don't know. I'm confused. Anyway, yeah, have a good day, everyone. Thanks for watching the video. I appreciate you.
And it's very interesting because Sylveon is not... I mean, it's a cat. It's not necessarily your wild cat.
But it's based on an Eevee, which is kind of cat-esque, wildcat-esque. And Jolteon is kind of cat-esque.
Which is, yeah. And it's very, very hard to pick here because Sylveon is a very set-up, solid Pokemon. While Ditto, usually you send him out, it has your choice scarf, and it uses your opponent's moves, and it just outspeeds them. But that doesn't work against a solid Pokemon because you can't lock yourself into Toxic or lock yourself into Calm Mind. It doesn't work like that. You would have to lock yourself into probably Dazzling Gleam, and really, I don't know if... Or not Dazzling Gleam, Moonblast. And I'm going to have to look up if Fairy resists Fairy. Because if Fairy resists Fairy, then Sylveon wins.
I have no say in this, being an alumni of Weber State. I want to point that out. I think Weber State's going to get their butts handed to them. Though I hope they win. But I don't think they will. So I have no say in this at all. This is him based on Pokemon because he is the expert and I am not.
Fairy hits Fairy neutral.
So Ditto
wins this
one.
Just because I don't think that... I think it's going to take more than one turn for the Sylveon to be able to set up a high enough special at defense to be able to counter the Ditto.
Sorry, Weber State.
Sorry, Weber. And you could have that one, but I don't. I think Ditto wins.
There could be an upset there, but probably not.
Probably not.
Okay. So that takes us to the Midwest.
I do want to see it. I do want to see
It'd be
Weber
great to have Weber State upset.
But they're not going to, and Ditto's not going to let Sylveon.
I don't think they will.
Either.
All right, so that puts Xavier on. And the experts predict Weber State getting their butts handed to them. They have like a 2% chance on winning.
Hey, but that's 2%.
2%'s better than nothing. Okay. Way to go, Weber State. Way to get the 2%.
I just get this email.
Cheer for the Wildcats as Weber State sends an email to you.
Yeah.
All right. That takes us to the Midwest. Virginia. Virginia notes go. Virginia versus Hampton. Virginia, the Cavaliers. We decided last year Escavalier. Made
Only
sense.
real option, right?
It's really. And then the Hampton Pirates. Their mascot just made us think Team Aqua.
Hashtag Team Aqua.
They're a 16 seed, though, so you can't make them a Sharpedo. So you make them the next best thing.
And honestly, with this matchup, even if you did, it wouldn't matter. Because a Escavalier has your attack stat.
So let's just give it... But if you want to be bitter at us for not making it a Sharpedo, then go for it. We chose Caravana.
Yeah, Caravana...
Or however you're going to say it.
Yeah. Escavalier's bug type. Like, bug's going to beat your dark type out.
Okay. So there you go. Escavalier, moving on. That's an easy choice, to be honest with you. Virginia is one of the best teams in the country. That takes us to the next one, Texas Tech. This was a tough one. Texas Tech there. The Red Raiders, or the Raider Red is the name of the mascot. He's a cowboy. He wears red. Looks like Yosemite Sam. There's not a Pokemon that matches it. So we thought long and hard, and we decided Simisear.
Simisear, yes.
He's red, fire type.
Red,
like
fire type, kind of has like your beard.
Hipster cowboy.
Hipster cowboy.
Okay.
Yeah, there it is. Hipster cowboy. That hipster cowboy.
And that Butler Bulldogs, who we decided last year, Butler is going to be Granbull. And I believe he was shiny because Butler's blue, and I think Granbull.
Yeah, that sounds about right to me. But the Bulldog's definitely good Pokemon here. Again, we've done Bulldogs over and over and over, it seems like. But Fire resists Fairy type. As we looked that up, that's when I actually knew Fire resists Fairy type, and I don't think there's enough coverage coming from the Granbull here to beat the Simisear.
So Simisear moves on.
Simisear moves on.
I'm all for that. Okay, so that brings us to Purdue Little Rock, 512. Purdue the Boilermaker. It's another one of them. Okay, whatever. Purdue Boilermakers. Last year we decided fit Clank.
Clank, which makes sense.
It made perfect sense, and I actually
It's a gear.
I like the choice there. Little Rock, they are the University of Arkansas. Little Rock, they are the Trojans. We've had Trojans before. We have so many fighting type. Poniard we've already used, so we went with Armaldo.
Yes, Armaldo. A rock bug type, not often seen. Little Rock, maybe not often seen here. Good Pokemon. A good supportive defensive Pokemon. Gets access to Earthquake, which would be good against the Clank, but Clank is Steel type. So I think the Steel is going to come in maybe Flash Cannon, Gear Grind even, and I think Clank wins here.
Awesome.
So.
Moving on, so that moves Purdue forward, and the Clank. Okay, Iowa State, they are the Cyclones, but we figured this out last year. The Cyclones, they have a bird as their actual mascot. He's like the Cardinal is his name. So he's a red bird, so we give him the Fletchinders.
Fletchinder, yeah.
Red bird, Fletchinder. Can't do Talonflame, OP.
Yep.
And then Iona, and they are the Gales, like wind, gale, force wind. And their mascot, I kid you not, is a creepy old man. And so, should we tell him how we decided?
Yeah, go for it.
So we sat there and we said, okay, what do you do as a creepy old man? And like, it doesn't even look like a Jinx. You can't do Jinx, but that makes sense. So we said, okay, he kind of looks, and I'm sorry, Gales, looks child molester-esque. I don't even know if we can say that on the...
I don't know.
You can say whatever you want on the internet, but he looks creepy.
And so we're sitting there, and we're like, if a Pokemon was going to molest children...
This is a horrible conversation that we have.
It would be a Hypno.
We're going to hell.
It would be a Hypno.
It would be a Hypno.
Like, it's so wrong.
It's so creepy.
And the whole idea of Hypno is weird anyway.
Yeah, so Hypno. So you're Hypno,
And
sorry.
Yeah.
Iona, you're Hypno. And if you have a problem with it...
Comment down below.
We probably won't read them. Actually, we will.
We will.
Because they get emailed to us. Okay. So, Fletchinder versus Hypno, who you got?
Fletchinder fast, Hypno bulky. I think Hypno wins this one. So if you're going to be mad at us for picking Hypno, we're taking you at least another round.
And it's a huge upset. So, upset alert. Massive upset. Iona has the better record. Let me check the actual stats of this.
It carries a pendulum-like device. There was once an incident in which it took away a child it hypnotized.
Shut the front freaking
I
door.
just read the Pokédex entry.
Proof. It makes perfect sense. Can we... Okay. If you want to argue with us...
I'm right. Sorry. That was Pokemon X.
That's a big upset.
Wondering.
That's a big upset for us, by the way.
It is.
The percentage of them winning is right now seems to be at a 23%, but we're rolling with it because creepy Pokemon that steal children. Move on.
He's going to steal a place in the bracket, too.
All right. Oh! Seton Hall, they're also the Pirates, which, again, they have almost the exact same mascot as Hampton.
They do.
And one of them stole it from each other. Pirates couldn't go with Caravana because we just couldn't.
We didn't want to put two of the same Pokemon
in the same section.
of the bracket.
We tried not to do that this year on the new teams. Hashtag Team Aqua on this because we just Pirates, Team Aqua. They all look like pirates. So we went with Cronut.
Cronut. And Cronut has the same typing, both physically offensive. It makes sense. I mean, it just works.
And then that's versus Gonzaga. Good team, classically good team, rough year this year. They're not the Gonzaga of old. They did win the West Coast Conference tournament to get them into the bracket as an 11 seed. They're not great, but their records are fairly equal, 25-8. Gonzaga is a 26-7. Their conferences are fairly equally matched as well. Seton Hall plays in a weaker conference, not that great.
Did better.
Gonzaga also plays in a weaker conference, not that great. So it could go either way on this one. So we're going Grand Bowl for Gonzaga Bulldogs we decided last year versus the Cronut. Here you go.
And this one's hard because they both are physically offensive Pokemon. I'm going to have to look at the defenses on each of them. But the type advantage goes to the Grand Bowl. So just hands down, Grand Bowl has the typing with the Fairy being super effective to the Dark type. Plus he has 120 attack stat, but his speed's only a 45. And if I'm not mistaken, which probably not, Cronut's faster. Cronut has a 55 speed, so he's barely faster with the same attack stat. And I think the best way to run Cronut's going to be Focus Sash. So I think that Cronut will live the hit that should kill, and then Cronut will kill the Grand Bowl with the second pitch.
So we're going Cronut.
So we're going Cronut here. But it's close. Like, Cronut could arguably not be the one to win, but I think in a real battle, Cronut's the better Pokemon.
So not an upset there, and I think Gonzaga's not that good this year. They're really not. They're weak. They're beatable. They've been beaten by they've been beat by 7 teams. And the West Coast Conference, not the best conference in the world.
No.
They had a rough year this year, the West Coast Conference. I think that's a solid pick. Okay, Utah also went to that school versus Fresno State. Go Utes. I didn't graduate from Utah because I transferred for another reason. But I love Utah. They're my school. I have no bias in this. He's picking this. But we decided last year Utah was Halucha because Luchador. I totally looked like
a Ute.
And the bird, the mascot's a bird, so it made sense. Versus another Bulldog team. Come up with some more better. Okay, Fresno State.
Did we go Grand Bowl again here?
Yeah, we did go Grand Bowl again here. We tried not to. We couldn't.
Did it?
We had 3 Grand Bowls in that bracket because there was nothing to do.
That's fun. It would have been interesting if Grand Bowl won. Both there.
Here you going, Halucha or Grand Bowl?
It's the same thing here. Halucha is beaten by the typing, but Halucha's got the same attack stat, the better speed, Focus Sash him. He's going to win the fight here.
Halucha moves on.
So Halucha moves on. And, I just explained why on this one. It's not bias, but...
So,
Halucha
go Utes.
Yeah,
Jakob Hurdle. This guy's good. All right, so when we get to the good stuff, Dayton versus Syracuse. Dayton Flyers, Syracuse Orange. Lame. 2 lame matching up.
Flyers and Orange.
You pieces of crap. Okay, so we have...
I remember what we picked for oranges. For the orange.
Seton Hall and the Halucha.
But that's a thing. I can't believe that's a thing.
It is. Dayton Flyers, they're like a pilot, plane. So we went with Rotom Fan.
Rotom Fan.
It's like a propeller.
Kind of a propeller. It's a fan. Very first thing I'm thinking is if there's only a plain version of Rotom. And then I'm like, there's a fan.
Propeller.
It's a propeller. It'll
flying
work.
type for Rotom.
It works. It works.
And then for Syracuse, the orange.
Throw.
What do you throw?
Throw. He kind of looks like an orange.
Kind of. He's big, fat, orangey-esque.
He's
blob.
red. There's not really an orange Pokemon. It was hard.
It was hard.
I mean, he was like,
for
we could do
Syracuse.
Voltorb, I think. But no.
It didn't even work.
It didn't work.
So we went throw. So if you're going Rotom versus throw, Rotom Fan, flying type, Rotom.
Yep.
Throw, fighting type.
Yep. While Flying has the coverage against Throw, Throw's really bulky, like insanely bulky. Plus, he has access to Rock-type moves. So I think Throw wins this one. Upset there, but not a huge upset, I don't think.
Upset alert. No, it's 10-7. That's fair, Syracuse. Moving on. All right, and that takes us to our last game in round 1, finally. We'll go quickly through because we have half the teams, and we already talked about everything. Michigan State, Middle Tennessee. Michigan State should beat Middle Tennessee. They're 29-5. Michigan State's a huge one. Michigan State, we had last year, they're the Spartans, so we gave them Hitmonchan. And Middle Tennessee are the Blue Raiders. They're a blue horse, so we gave them a shiny Ponyta.
Because
it's a blue horse.
And yes, Rapidash may be the better Pokemon, but one, weaker team, sorry, and shiny Rapidash is gray, not blue. So, the blue horse, we went Ponyta.
And Middle Tennessee State, 24-9, RPI is a 76, which is actually a fairly good RPI. They have never faced a top 25 team. So, I think by that point, you really can't evolve them because they have not faced anyone that has been good.
Give them the experience.
They don't have the experience points, so that's why I'd say that.
And then Hitmonchan's the better Pokemon. Just, it is. So that's why he wins. Not just because of the mascots and because of the better team and everything.
All right, so now we get to the fun stuff. Because now it's
now, like, if we're wrong, we're just making stuff up that's even more
now
wrong.
we're getting to the fun stuff.
And this is where, like, you have your 13 seed Cinderellas beating your 1 seeds because of type coverage.
All right, so we're going to go a little bit faster through this. So now we're moving second round. We'll start up in the South again. So we got Kansas, Colorado, Archeops, Buffalon. Kansas 1 seed, Colorado 8 seed. Who you got?
Archeops on this.
Archeops, easy pick.
Just better Pokemon. Does have that crappy ability. Below half HP, halves the attack stat.
Yeah,
but at the same time, you don't need more than 1 turn with that speed and attack.
Caracosta, Machoke, that's Maryland. The Terrapins versus Machoke, the Hawaii Warriors. Who you got? Caracosta or Machoke?
Probably Machoke on this one. Just because he got access to the low sweep, he's got fighting type moves, got the coverage there. Caracosta is good, but Drain Punch on a Machoke is going to sustain.
All you Islanders out there, we got you. You're going to the Sweet 16, baby! Okay. We have Vanderbilt versus Miami. Chinchino, Pelipper. Who you got?
Pelipper. Oh, wait. No. Chinchino on this one. Yeah. I had to think for half a second. Chinchino gets the Rock Blast again. Same thing to beat the Delphox out. And this is, like we said, the fun part. But yeah, Chinchino here. Outspeeds kind of just sadly better Pokemon.
Vanderbilt going to the Sweet 16, baby! They're an 11 seed, so it's not out of the realm of possibility.
We got you, fam.
But, man. The big one is the next one where you have the 16 seed.
Okay.
All right, so that takes us to Iowa, Villanova, the Honchkrow versus the Meowstic.
And the Honchkrow wins this one. So,
why?
Who we beat now? Dark type against the Psychic type. Meowstic can maybe paralyze to try to stop that from happening. But Honchkrow's Dark type.
We're going to get our butts. I just feel a 1, a 13, an 11, and a 17 in the Sweet 16.
We will call at least one upset, I'm sure.
Okay. All right, so we go to the West where it gets really fun because we have the Poniard of Holy Cross who managed to beat Oregon Ducks versus St. Joe's, the Fletchinder.
And
so Poniard, Fletchinder, who you got?
Fletchinder's got the Fire type on the Steel type, so Fletchinder wins this one.
Thank goodness for that. That actually might be okay. Probably not.
Probably not.
Baylor, Duke, that's a 5-4, equal teams. Ursaring versus Houndoom. Who you got?
Probably Houndoom. Houndoom can get a burn off on the Ursaring, which might have guts, actually. Let's check real quickly, just to confirm does have guts.
You changing it?
I'm changing it. I'm thinking Ursaring's winning this one. He's got access to the fighting type moves that we've talked about in the past, as well as if he's burned, he just becomes stronger. So
Baylor beating Duke. Sorry, Houndoom, you're out. Sorry, Dukies, you're out.
A little inverted from last year.
Texas versus Green Bay. That's the Miltank Tropius matchup. What do you got?
This one's hard because they both are very sustaining Pokemon, as I have mentioned. I think Miltank might win this one again with the same, just that good, plus access to the better moves, in my opinion. Plus rollout beats flying types, so
Rollout is mean. I hate that move.
so scary.
Go-Goat, Cacturn. So we got Texas moving on. Go-Goat, VCU versus Oklahoma. Virginia Commonwealth, Go-Goat, Oklahoma.
I'm going to say probably the Cacturn here, just because Cacturn has a second typing, so he's not relying on Grass-type stab to win here.
Oklahoma. Okay. So now we're moving over to the East. North Carolina, USC. North Carolina, Nidokings versus USC, Bisharps. Who you got?
That's kind of a hard one, just because Poison doesn't hit Steel type, but at the same time, he's Ground type. So Ground beats Steel, hands down, Nidoking for the win.
The Nidoking. So that brings us to this Chattanooga, Kentucky matchup. Chattanooga, the Staravia versus the Umbreon of Kentucky. Who you got?
Probably Umbreon on this one. Again, he can be very physically strong, but he's also physically defensive, and Staravia is a physically offensive Pokemon.
Awesome. That takes us to Notre Dame, Scrafty versus West Virginia, Bouffalons.
And Scrafty wins this one with some good fighting type moves.
Awesome.
Stab fighting.
That brings us to Wisconsin, Linoons versus the Xavier Dittos.
Linoon's kind of a one-trick pony, and I think Ditto works his way right around it. So
Ditto moving on, so that brings Xavier. So that's a solid bracket, a 1-4-6-2. That I feel good about that one.
That's pretty good, yeah.
All right, so let's move on to the Midwest, our bottom part of the next round, the second round. So Escavalier, UVA, Escavaliers versus Texas Tech, Simisears. Escavalier, Simisear.
Simisear should win this one.
Upsets.
That is an upset there. Fire type, it's ×4 effective on the Escavalier, plus Simisear's a pretty good Pokemon.
Texas Tech is supposed to be good this year, so I could see that upset happening. 1 seed being taken down by an 8 seed. I'd see if there's any. Again, I've already said this. If there's any year 1 seeds are going to fall, it's this year.
It's this year.
It's this year. 1 seed. The 1 seed fell all season long. It's like if you were the top team, you were vulnerable. So the Clank Hypno matchup, Purdue Iona. Iona.
Looking at this one, Clank should win. Clank is physically defensive, while Hypno is physically offensive, and then there's not really any good psychic type stab that's offensive there. So
awesome.
So yeah, Hypno just can't really hit Clang. Is it Clank or Clang? I think it's Clang, actually.
Is it?
Yeah.
Have we been saying it wrong this whole time? I blame you. I blame you.
It is Clang with a G. It's probably fine.
Oh well.
And with a K, technically. But
What? Oh gosh. Okay. Anyway, Clang.
Clang. We have made that fixed.
We suck. We're supposed to be experts.
We are experts.
Okay. Hypno. Sorry. We gave you one. You creepy. Okay.
Okay, here we go.
So Purdue moves on. Seton Hall, the Crodnut versus the University of Utah, Haluchas.
Halucha wins this one, fighting on Dark easily. They're both really fast. They're both kind of frail. So I think Halucha, just coverage, wins it.
Not bias. That's by Pokemon. But I'd love to see the Utes go further, so keep it up.
It looks like they might.
All right. Throw versus Hitmonchan, fighting. Syracuse, Throw versus Hitmonchan, Michigan State.
Throw's bulkier. Bulky wins when they're the same type. So
Michigan State, you lose.
Throw wins here.
So Throw moves on.
So that's going to be an upset too.
City. Syracuse moving on. Syracuse is good. Just because they weren't in the tournament last year, it wasn't because they were bad. It was because I believe they had a postseason ban, if I remember right.
Cheaters.
So, hey, if you're not cheating, you're not trying.
Unless you're winning.
It works. All right. So now we're moving on to the Sweet 16. Third round here. Kansas, Hawaii. We're in the South. Archeops versus Machoke.
Sorry, Hawaii. You don't get to go any farther. Archeops, flying type, wins here.
Flying type, sorry.
Flying beats fighting. And That's all I got.
Vanderbilt, Chinchino versus Honchkrow.
Speeds. I gotta look at speeds. I feel like Chinchino wins this one.
No! No!
But, like, under what? 115 and Honchkrow 71. Cincino wins this one. Honchkrow has a 52 defense to Cincino's
Our bracket's going to be busted.
95 attack.
It is 3:44 right now. The game starts at 4:30 our time. Like, our bracket could be busted in 2 hours.
Oh, no.
Did you
Look
screw
ahead.
something up?
No, I didn't screw anything up. I just looked ahead. Do we want to finish that bracket?
I'm scared. Does the Chinchino beat the Archeops?
It looks like he easily could. That's what's really scary.
Our bracket's going to be busted tonight. Vandy's going to lose to Wichita State. And oh my gosh.
Okay.
At this point, we don't publish it.
Damage calculator. I'll find one. We'll figure this out. Let's keep moving, and we'll come back to that one. And also work it out now.
Oh my gosh. St. Joe's, Baylor. St. Joseph's, Fletchling, the Hawks. Baylor, Ursering. Fletchinder, Ursering, who you got?
Ursering on that one. Archeops.
Baylor's going to the Elite Eight. Miltank versus the Cacturn.
Probably Cacturn on that one. Just Drain Punch away would be how I would run it. So
Cacturn. Moving on. Oklahoma, you're moving on. North Carolina, Nidoking versus Umbreon of Kentucky. Who you got? Nidoking, Umbreon.
Probably Nidoking on that one as well.
Nidoking, you're moving on. Scrafty versus Xavier.
Scrafty versus a Ditto.
Scrafty,
Probably the Ditto here. Just because Scrafty's not going to try to set up too much, and Ditto's just going to outspeed.
Well, look at that. A 1 and a 2 made it through. It's about time.
What? No way.
All right. Simisear, Texas Tech, Simisear versus Purdue, Clang.
Simisear should win that one. Fire type beats Steel type. Clang is physically defensive.
So that's an upset there because it's an 8 over a 5 Simisear.
8 made it that far. The whole thing's an upset at this point.
Then we go Utah, Syracuse, the Halucha versus the Throw.
Halucha would win with his flying. Yeah, Halucha overthrow. Flying type beats the fighting type. Throw bulky, yes, but Halucha is probably the better Pokemon. Plus access to Roost. So
okay, Halucha. So there we go there. So that brings us to the
yes,
to the Elite 8 round, or the 4th round, as it's called on this bracket that I have. The Elite 8 or the regional finals. That means Kansas versus Vanderbilt. Archeops, Chinchino.
Okay, so I have looked. I have done my research. Archeops can live a Rock Blast from the Chinchino.
And he lives the Rock Blast.
He can live it, he will live it if he's built right, which I would assume he was. I'm guessing they prepare before they go into these matches.
Well, and we said last year and this year, we're going best case scenario.
Best case scenario for both teams. Chinchino's best bet is to go Rock Blast, super effective, always hits 5 times with the ability that it has. What's the ability? Skill Link. Skill Link ability always hits 5 times. Rock Blast hits 5 times. Going into it, Archeops knowing that it's slower, doesn't invest as much in speed, and invest more in defenses. Chinchino, making sure to stay faster, would probably invest more in speed and in offense. Maxing its offense, though, it can do a max of 96% of the max HP on Archeops. Archeops can survive and one-shot with his lost HP.
So we're moving Archeops.
We're going Archeops.
And you ran the damage calculator.
I did run the damage calc.
And proved that Archeops could survive that and then one-shot.
And then one-shot, yep.
Okay.
Even with the attack drop from the ability.
So that's the end of the run for Vanderbilt. Sorry.
Sorry, Vanderbilt.
You had a good run, though.
You did, though.
And if you lose tonight, I'm going to be pissed. Baylor, Oklahoma. Who we got?
Baylor, Ursurang versus Cacturn. This is another one of those that are really close. Ursurang definitely has really good attack set and has has the access to the fighting type moves, but Cacturn also has access to the fighting type moves and then has access to Drain Punch. So the fighting type move is going to be sustaining the Cacturn, while the fighting type is not going to be sustaining the Ursurang. So I think Cacturn wins this one. Both bulky Pokemon, but Cacturn's more versatile. So
awesome. So that's a 1 and a 2 seed coming out of the South and the West. So there's that. Archeops, Cacturn, you're in Final Four. So now let's decide the other two Final Four. North Carolina, Xavier, so that means it's a Nidoking Ditto.
Nidoking wins this one, and it's because Nidoking is already ran Choice Scarfed. So you send out the Nidoking into the Choice Scarfed Ditto, and then I think that is what it takes to beat that Ditto. You're already running the fastest version of your Pokemon, so it's going to be a speed tie. Technically, you shouldn't be able to decide a winner, but when it's down to the Ditto Nidoking, I don't trust Ditto to win it for me. So.
Okay, so Ditto, you're out. Sorry, Xavier. North Carolina moves on. And that brings us to the Midwest, which had an 8 and a 3 seed move on. Texas Tech, Simisears versus the Halucha of the University of Utah.
Of the University of Utah. And I think Utah wins this one as well, just because Simisear doesn't have the damage output to one-shot that Halucha, and then Halucha can potentially one-shot, if not two-shot with the higher speed.
As happy as it makes me, I want to be very clear, that is Simisear Halucha, and we're going off the throw. He should win in all of those.
Yeah, Halucha it's the flying type. Just like with the Archeops, that flying type beats out the fighting types.
Flying type's a solid type.
Yeah, it's
one of the top in the game, in my opinion.
It's got...
unless you meet up with a rock type.
The hardest part about using flying types is the fact that it's always that second type that gives them so many weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
So...
All right, so we're going to Utah, Halucha, moving on. So that takes our Final Four. Archeops, Cacturn, Nidoking, Halucha. Kansas, Oklahoma, who you got? Archeops, Cacturn.
Archeops here. Archeops got that flying type. Definitely outspeeds the Cacturn.
Kansas, you're through to the national championship. Nidoking, Halucha. How good can the Utes be? Nidoking, Halucha, who wins?
It's Nidoking on this one. Nidoking probably run Choice Scarf. Gets access to Ice Beam. Fighting doesn't resist Ice. There's that. Plus Stab on Poison-type moves. Not going to be getting any Ground-type moves off, but I don't think Nidokings need it. So,
you had a good run, Utah. You made it to the Final Four. I don't think anyone's complaining about that. Nice work. All right, Halucha, you're out. Nidoking. So that's 2 number 1 seeds. That gives us a way better shot than we had last year.
Way better than we had last year with our
Kansas, UNC, 1-1.
Seeds winning.
Kansas, UNC, Archeops, Nidoking. It's a good matchup, I think.
It is.
Who wins between those two?
Let's look up some Nidoking base speeds here. I know he is fast. I know that with a Choice Scarf, he probably outspeeds the Halucha. Nidoking, yeah. Nidoking, I think with the Choice Scarf and with the access of the moves that it gets, being able to take the Archeops under half health and definitely being able to live an attack from the Archeops, especially because once it's under that half health, it doesn't do as much damage. I think that Nidoking has the ability to win this one, and I think that it will.
Nidoking, North Carolina, you are the winners, and we'll put a tiebreak score in here just for fun. But we are predicting that North Carolina Tar Heels, as much, and again, this is purely Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
So, North Carolina, you are the winners based on our Pokemon predictions. We are taking North Carolina this year. And that's it from us.
Yeah.
Enjoy the tournament. And we'll do some update videos as the tournament goes on.
Because this will need to be updated.
Because this will be updated. So we'll do some, we'll talk about our bracket, and then we'll do some, as the bracket has shaken down, we'll do some more predictions as the tournament progresses.
Yep.
And that's it from us. So enjoy the
Thanks
tournament.
for watching.
Can't wait. March Madness. Hopefully we do well. We're on ESPN's Tournament Challenge. VGC Pokemon is what the bracket's name is.
Yep. And if there are any Pokemon that you disagree with, leave a comment below. looking to update these Pokemon because we had a hard time finding some Pokemon to match the mascots. So if you have a better idea of who we could have used, comments are available for you.
Great. That's it from us.
Yep.
Well, check us out on VGCritic.com. Follow us on Twitter, at OPIN Gamers. Follow us at Facebook. We're on there. Opinionated Gamers, I believe, or OPIN.
It's VGCritic on Facebook.
Is it? VGCritic on Facebook. And that's it from us. So, bye.
Bye.